So another musical which is very different from Cabaret and strangely similar is Hair, one of the first and possibly the first really successful rock musical. The full title is Hair, the American Tribal Love Rock Musical. A rock musical by a group of people, music by Gold McDermott, lyrics by Jerome Ragney and James Rado, if I'm pronouncing their names alright. The first staging was off-Broadway in 1967, then it moved to Broadway in 1968, and very soon it was made into a film version in 1968, so just as it premiered on Broadway, and directed by Milos Forman. So again, very good film, and if you have not watched this film, please watch it. If you have seen it, perhaps check out the stage version, because the situation is quite similar in case of Hair as it was in case of Cabaret. Even more so that Hair was a concept musical. So it was a concept musical without a very clear storyline. And if you ever have a chance of watching this on stage, I've seen it on stage twice, I think, in two different countries. So it was different every time. There is a lot of improvisation, that there is a lot of interaction between the performers and the audience. It just all ends in a big party involving the performers and the audience, and it really has more of an atmosphere, really, of a rock concert than a proper theatrical play. With the film version, I guess it was Forman's decision. He believed that a concept musical wouldn't be easily adapted for the screen. You needed a storyline. So first of all, the songs were put in order, because in the stage version you could have different versions with different order of songs, and they might be shuffled. In the film version, of course, it's recorded, it's forever, so there is a sequence of songs, and they are all moved a little bit more towards a book musical than a concept musical. So there is a story that combines all those numbers of the individual members of this group of friends, the tribe of hippies who live in New York. And of course, in both the stage and the screen version, the most important thing is really how the hippies in the late 60s were against the Vietnam War, and especially the conscription to Vietnam War. Actually, I did something wrong. The film was released in 1979. Anyway, the contrast between the hippies and the Vietnam War, also between the social classes. The hippies are usually quite poor, or they choose to live the life without, let's say, the typical attachments of the middle class, such as work and money and the stable life, marriage, or such things. And the other side of the conflict was the upper middle class, and we have the young woman from this background, Sheila, who is attracted by the hippies and joins them, and she develops a relationship with one of the hippies, the newcomer, Claude Bukowski. So we have the Polish name here featured, and Claude is the outsider. He is somebody, through his eyes we see the hippies and we see the Vietnam War, because he comes to New York only because he got the conscription bill to join the army. However, he meets the hippies in Central Park, and he decides to join them rather than to join the army. And it is all in the film. It is all explained in the first 5 minutes. Really, the opening song with the credits still running, "The Age of Aquarius." So I'll give you the link. If you do not remember it, if you watched the film a while ago and you didn't pay much attention, rewatch it. See the opening of the film. You see everything. You see Claude saying goodbye to his father and getting on a bus to go to New York, and we have the group of hippies. We have the people in Central Park protesting against the Vietnam War. We have the police. We have the rich people riding horses in Central Park, and one of these people is Sheila. So we even have this first moment of attraction between Claude and Sheila. We have the hippies, of course, looking very stylish, wearing their own clothes and hair. The long hair, of course, in the title refers to the very characteristic hairstyles of the hippies, especially hippie men wearing their hair long. Unlike the mainstream culture, which preferred men to wear short hair. We have some scenes which are suggestive sexually, so we have people dancing together in a rather provocative way, because sexual liberation and free love were very important issues for the hippies, very controversial, just as probably the numbers from Kit Kat Club were to the mainstream audience of the interwar Berlin. So now we have the next generation, another generation of young people, basically doing the same. Sex and drugs, and not rock and roll, but this kind of hippie rock. What we have, I hope you notice, are also racial themes, which are very delicately suggested. You have among the hippies people dancing with partners of different races. It's basically taken for granted. They experiment, you might assume also by the style of dancing, sexually with partners from other ethnic backgrounds. And yeah, that's what it happens, and it will all be repeated many times in the songs by the members of the tribe, and the conflict between the hippies and the upper middle class will be very highlighted. The title song of the musical is when we have the hippies crushing a party of the upper middle class and dancing on the table and doing this kind of enumeration of the body parts, which just boils down to one thing: we are human. We have the same heads and hands and other body parts, and possibly other emotions and other aspects of human personality as you do. This could be traced back all the way, I don't know, to Shakespeare perhaps, and this great monologue of Shylock in The Merchant of Venice, who talks about a Jew having the same body parts and feelings as the Christians. Here we have the young people who are dismissed by the rich bourgeoisie as a nuisance, as drag addicts and perhaps perverts, or at least promiscuous people, and they are sent in their droves to Vietnam to take part in the war they never wanted, and to die in the war they never wanted. Do you remember Oh What a Lovely War? That's the same thing. That's the same thing. People who are seen as worse because they are poorer, because they are young and inexperienced, because they have some sort of culture that the older generation does not accept, are sent off or enticed or forced, as this case shows, to go to war somewhere far away from home. So it's not a defensive war, it's an aggressive war they did not want, and they are forced to kill and to die to protect the interests of the rich. That's basically it. You have the same thing in Cabaret with the Nazis rising and the Nazis being the real danger. And if you look at Hair, there's just a very similar attitude. You have those young people who are a nuisance, who take drugs, who have sex with whoever. But are they the real danger? Are they the real evil? Or rather, the rich who sent them to war? And of course, if you watch the film till the end, spoiler alert, watch the film before you watch this video, you will see it ends almost exactly as Oh What a Lovely War, on a huge cemetery with the survivors looking for the graves of their friends. But this time it's darker. It's really darker. There is the scene of a massive rally against the war in Washington DC, but the last moments are silent, and it's just this huge cemetery with small identical graves for as far as the eye can see. So that's really it. Well, we could go on. There is a very interesting subplot, perhaps a bit of redemption for the upper class, for the normals, when we have a girlfriend or perhaps a wife of one of the hippies coming up to them and trying to talk some sense into her partner, because it turns out he abandoned her, he abandoned the child they had, so she is left alone to raise the child and to fend for herself while her husband or boyfriend is playing hippie. So these young people are not as innocent as you might be led to believe, and they are not just completely harmless. They are egoistic. They have their faults, and this song definitely points to this. So what's Easy to Be Hard, that's the title of the song, which could also be seen as a voice perhaps in defense of the traditional society, which definitely would provide better opportunities and some help for women with children. But nobody else has children there, so they don't care so much. And there is this wonderful redeeming gesture of the leader of the hippies when he takes the place of Claude in the military barracks, so Claude can meet with Sheila for one last time, and it ends very bad for Berger, the hippie friend. So next time we'll talk about the mega musicals. We'll talk about the 80s and the 90s and whatever is happening at the musical theater nowadays, and a lot is happening. And for the examples, watch any version of Cats, or any version. Well, the filmed performance is fine. Or you could actually watch the animatics if you want to of Hamilton. So that's it. Thank you.